Hey, I want to tell you a riddle. Maybe it's a riddle you've heard before, but here's how it goes. Listen carefully. 3 businessmen are going on a trip. They decide they're going to rent a hotel room and split the cost together. The hotel room, according to the front clerk, is $30. So each one of those 3 businessmen pulls out a $10 bill. They give the clerk the $10 bill. They've paid $30. They go to get in the room. After they've left, the clerk says to himself, "Oh my goodness, I overcharged those guys. The room is really only $25. So he pulls 5 $1 bills out of the cash register, right? $30 minus 5 equals the 25. Hands those 5 $1 bills to the bellhop and says, "Go find those guys and give them their change back. I overcharged them." So the bellboy's walking down the hallway and he says, "How am I going to give 5 $1 bills to these 3 guys?" So he takes 2 of them and simply sticks them in his pocket. And then when he gets to the room, he gives each of those businessmen $1 bill. So each of them has paid $9 for the room. 9 times 3, 3 guys, equals what? 9 times 3 equals 27. The bellboy put $2 in his pocket. That equals 28, 29. They started out with 30. Where's the missing dollar? Now you think about that for the next couple of minutes. Where's the missing dollar? All of us face some situations in our lives sometimes that we don't understand. Situations that may blow our minds. Situations that confound us. And situations that we just can't understand or explain. Sometimes things happen in our world. Sometimes we're given information that we just don't process or don't know how to process. Sometimes we're unprepared to process the information that we have. Have you ever tried to explain something to someone who hasn't experienced it before? And it's just almost impossible for them to understand what you're talking about until they experience it. Not long ago, the youth went to Branson and they were riding on a roller coaster. And one child was trying to tell the other child what it was like to ride on a roller coaster, what you felt like when you were riding on a big roller coaster. Well, until you've ridden a roller coaster, it's really hard to understand when someone tries to explain it to you, right? Those of you who are here that have kids know that there's just some things it's really hard to explain to your kids until they've lived through it. I have a friend that has a favorite saying. He says, "You know, Ray, you don't know what you don't know." And that's true. You don't know what you don't know. Sometimes things happen that it's just hard to understand. That's true in the world, that's true in life, that's true in our families, that can even be true in our faith. Sometimes that's true in reading the Bible. Sometimes that's true in our relationship with God. You don't know what you don't know, and sometimes things happen that we just don't understand. Here's the point with Peter. Peter tried to act on his faith even when he didn't understand. Peter was a man of action. Say that with me. Peter was a man of action. There's men and women both, boys and girls here will say Peter was a person of action. Say it with me. Peter was a person of action. One more time. Peter was a person of action. And because he presents to us a wonderful model for our faith. Even when we don't understand, we can act out our faith and act in faithful kinds of ways. Think about Peter. He didn't understand what Jesus was calling him to when Jesus first called him to be a disciple, but he was willing to leave his nets and follow Christ because he was a person of action. Peter didn't fully understand that night when they arrested Jesus and drug him off to the authorities. He didn't understand what was happening, but he was the only disciple that followed into the courtyard. Remember that story? Peter was the only person that followed Jesus even after he was arrested. Peter didn't fully understand that night what was happening. There they were in the middle of the lake. A storm blowing water and wind and waves into the boat. And then they see a ghost. Now, in their time, in their culture, they probably first interpreted this ghost out on the water as a sign that they were all going to drown. As a sign that someone had come from the netherworld up to take their souls down with them. They were terrified when they saw that figure, that ghost. Peter didn't understand what was happening. But when he heard Jesus say it was him, he got out of the boat, began walking on the water towards the Lord. And yes, when he took his eyes off of Christ, notice that, when Peter started looking at the waves instead of Jesus, when he started looking at his circumstances instead of the Lord, when he started looking at the waves and the storm instead of the face of Christ, he got scared again and began to sink. Christ had to save him. But friends, never forget, at least Peter got out of the boat. How many times do we find ourselves petrified, misunderstand? We don't know what's happening. And we become immobilized and we refuse to even get out of the boat. Jesus was faithful to save Peter when he needed it, but never forget, though Peter may have had some struggles once he got out on the sea, at least he got out of the boat. Peter was a person of action. What do you do when you don't know what to do? We ask ourselves that in our profession. You've asked yourself that, in your classes at school. You've asked yourself that probably in relationships you've had. You've asked yourself that perhaps in your Christian faith. What do you do when you don't know what to do? Here's the answer. You do the next right thing. Now, any of you who have ever been to an AA meeting have heard that phrase before. You may have heard that phrase used before here in the church because I think it's a great axiom for our lives. What do you do when you're not sure what to do? You just do the next right thing, right? For example, if you're really nervous about that project that you got to hand in or that report you got to give before the class because you're not really sure exactly what to do, then do the next right thing and have breakfast and get ready for the class, right? If you're not really sure about whether you're going to be able to get your degree and be successful in life and graduate from college, then just do the next right thing and study for the test you got tomorrow. You see? If you're worried about your child being successful and doing well in life, they're just a small child and you wonder about how they're going to do in life, just do the next right thing and read them a story or tell them a parable of Jesus or just let them know how much you love them.